Hey, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. Watty Graham's Glen. They are about the hype. They are all about the hype, and they are living up to the hype. They have beaten Scotstown by a scoreline of 118 to 12 points. An extremely impressive performance from Watty Graham's Glen. I mean, considering they came through Derry for the first time in their history, playing in the Ulster Club Senior Football Championship for the very first time in their history, and they have come through a Scotstown side that have got a lot of very notable players in there, the likes of Conor McCarthy, Rory Began, of course, in goal. Well, he plays in goal, but as you very well would have seen if you watch that game, I mean, he plays almost in midfield at times. But yeah, Rory Began in there, and obviously you got Kieran and Darren Hughes when they're not getting sent off. Two very impressive players as well. So, like, the fact that Watty Graham's Glen have absolutely dispatched of Scotstown as comfortably as they have here and racking up a scoreline of 118, they're definitely living up to the hype, in my opinion. And I think now you can really consider them as serious All-Ireland contenders. I think it's fair to say that at this point. A lot of people, bought into the hype a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't seen enough of Watty Graham's Glen, unfortunately, to have got on that hype train. But I think after having watching this game, I'm definitely on that train right now. I'm getting the ticket and I'll be first row because it was absolutely brilliant. And like, for Watty Graham's Glen, they had 10 scorers on the day. All their 6 starting forwards scored. Their 2 midfielders and Emmett Bradley and Conor Glass scored as well. Kieran McFell, unbelievable. He got on the score sheet. And Conor Carville, he got on the score sheet as well. So, like, 10 different scorers on the day for Watty Graham's Glen, which tells you how impressive. Well, actually, 11 different scores because they had a player in Alex Doherty who came off the bench and he scored a point as well. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how impressive that they actually were in terms of or how efficient they were. And like in the first half in particular, Watty Graham's Glen obviously kicked a couple of early scores. They certainly looked like the side that was dictating the tempo, the side who had the most of the possession. They were doing a brilliant amount of work in and around the middle, definitely, to turn the ball over. And Conor Glass, as always, jumping 10 feet high to catch a ball was brilliant. And they look a very experienced team as well, which is interesting. They look like a side that have been there before and done this, and they were very, very good. They really were. And in the first half, they managed the game. I think it was the most impressive thing from a Watty Graham's Glen point of view was their management of the game. How if they needed to slow the game down, they would. They'd wait for the opportunities to come, and they were just extremely efficient in front of goal. I didn't even clock too many wides in this game, which shows you, how good they were. Emmett Bradley was just brilliant in the first half. I mean, with that midfield pairing of Conor Glass and Emmett Bradley, obviously the same pairing that the Derry senior footballers have, I think Watty Graham's Glen probably have the best midfield pairing left in the club championship right now. They've probably got 1 and 2 in terms of the best midfielders remaining in the club championship. And that's going to be their strength, is dictating games, slowing games down, managing the ball, waiting for opportunities to happen in front of them. And they have a whole host of players contributing to the score sheet, whether it be Jack Doherty, who obviously kicked the score, and also his link-up play was brilliant as well, like the short hand passes into Conor Convery, Paul Gunning as well, chipping away with a couple of scores. Danny Talon, who's, very much the poacher in the team, the full forward, like he'll be the last man, I suppose, of the attack, and he's probably the most likely man to end up getting on the goal sheet, as we said and as we seen in the dying minutes of this game. Conall McGuckian looks like a very good player as well. He kicked he kicked one very nice point as well. Like, so plenty of talent in there, and it'd be very hard for Kilcoo coming up next. And obviously they'll want to keep tabs on Watty Graham's Glen's midfield prowess in terms of Bradley and Conor Glass. But you can't just mark 1 or 2 of the forwards, because they've got a whole host of different players there, and they've also got players coming off the bench and making a difference as well. And I think that's what makes them extremely, extremely promising to potentially not just win the Ulster Club Championship, but potentially in All-Ireland as well. I think so. And I think for Scotstown, like, they kicked a couple of scores here and there. They kept themselves within touch and distance, to be fair to them. They done well, I thought, after Kieran Hughes got that red card at the start of the second half. They were 6 points down at that stage, and you were thinking they're probably going to struggle from here. They're probably going to struggle, but they done well. Like, they hit 3 unanswered scores from there on in. Darren Hughes definitely started to step up and come more into the game. Shane Carey kicked a couple of scores as well. Conor McCarthy as well. Like, so they were doing well, and they were certainly causing problems for Watty Graham's Glen. Never really could create any goal chances, though. You could tell that's what they were starting to look for. As we started to go down the home stretch. But Glen just improved as the game went on as well, and they didn't let up in terms of their scoring, and they took the big scores when they came along as well. And I think that was something that was most impressive anyway from a Glen point of view. Running through the scores then in total. So I said before, for Watty Graham's Glen, 10 different scores, which shows you the the attacking threat that they have all over the pitch. So Conor Carville hit a point, Kieran McFell with a point, and Kieran McFell, just mentioning him, I think he was probably my man of the match personally. I thought he was unbelievable at getting forward and just carrying the ball as well. Such a brilliant ball carrier. Holding up possession as well, waiting for the right moments in front of him, and obviously defensively, done a great job as well. Like, probably one of the biggest threats Scotstown have is Conor McCarthy's goal threat, and they limited him very, very well. And I think partly down to the influence there of Conor or of Kieran McFell. Conor Glass with a point, Emmett Bradley with 3 points, Conor McDevitt with a point, Jack Doherty with a point, Conor Convery with a point, Paul Gunning with 3 points, Danny Talon with 1-3, and Conleth McGuckian with a score as well. And Alex Doherty, who came off the bench, he got on the score sheet for Watty Graham's Glen. For Scotstown, some of their scores on the day, Damien McCardle with 2 points, Rory Began got himself a score as well. Kieran Hughes with 2 points, Conor McCarthy with 2 points, Matthew Maguire with a point, and Shane Carey with 4 points. And big win for Watty Graham's Glen, and what a big game that is next for them now. Kilcoo, I mean, that is definitely one to get the popcorn out and make sure you're watching that one, because for me, that's 2 clear All-Ireland contenders going up against each other in an Ulster Club semi-final. It's very likely the team that wins that game could go on to win the All-Ireland. I think if you were to do a power rankings, and I'll probably do an updated power rankings for club football maybe during the week, but I think maybe this is 1 and 2, Kilcoo and Watty Graham's Glen, possibly 1 and 2, maybe 3 and 1 or 2 and 3. Like, they're definitely in the top 4 sides in the country. And I think that's what's going to make this game very, very exciting, in my opinion. And for Glen, like, when you've got a player in there like Conor Glass, he might just be the best midfielder in the country. He just might be. He might just be better than Brian Fenton and James McCarthy and some of the other top class midfielders out there. Still, there's a bit to go yet. And look, we would need to see Derry in action against some of the top teams next year. We'd need to see them go on a bit of a run before we could really definitively say that he is the best midfielder in the country. But he has all those same assets and ability that some of the other players I just mentioned have. The ability to slow the game down, like I said, the high catching, brilliant at just picking out a pass as well. The weight of his passes as well, I think, is very underrated. Like, he just puts the ball in the perfect position, like right in front of the forward, so he can run onto it and then score. I think that's just something most impressive from a Conor Glass point of view. And his tackles as well, just very, very well rounded. And he leaves a lot of space for Emmett Bradley as well to, I suppose, kick a couple of scores and get forward as well. So, with that midfield pairing in there, I think Watty Graham's Glen have a serious chance of winning an All-Ireland. So, that was the full-time score. Watty Graham's Glen 118, Scotstown 12 points. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the game if you watched it. As I said before, man of the match for me would have to be Kieran McFell. Thought he was absolutely brilliant, but a whole host of players there. I think Jack Doherty won it on TG Carr there, but there's a whole host of options you probably could have went for, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll wrap this up here anyway. If you could leave a like and subscribe, would appreciate it. And stay tuned for the club review show. That'll be out tomorrow, and some more videos and exciting announcements, podcasts, and we'll also be starting our previews, our season previews during the week as well. We're going to be doing a season preview for the Mighty Dubs. Happy days. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you all.